Hello students, today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic of law of torts 1, that is liability under the multimodal transportation law. To start with the introduction, the MMTG, that is the Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act of 1993, serves as the legislative structure governing multimodal transportation of goods regulation. This act pertains explicitly to the transportation of goods via two or more modes of transportation from any location within India to any location outside of India. In order to make such transportation arrangements possible, the Act mandates a single multimodal transportation contract. I repeat, a single multimodal transportation contract. The legislation in question, officially referred to as the Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act 1993, was officially implemented on April 2, 1993. The regulation requires individuals who wish to participate in multimodal transportation to be registered as MTOs, that is multimodal transport operators. The competent authority entrusted with the implementation of the obligations specified in the Act, including the registration of MTOs, is the Directorate General of Shipping. The MTO, that is motor vehicle operator, registration is initially granted for a period of 1 year and may be renewed for additional 1 year periods upon renewal. In accordance with Rule 3 of the Multimodal Transport Document Rules of 1994, the Director General of Shipping has issued Multimodal Transport Document with the approval of the Ministry of Surface Transport. Now, coming to the objectives and scope of the Act, the primary aim of the Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act of 1993 was to offer exporters improved efficiency and increased confidence in the process of transporting their merchandise. In the realm of international trade, the phenomena of multimodal transportation, which includes door-to-door delivery, is acquiring considerable traction. In the field of multimodal transportation, the reduction of logistics costs play a significant role because it effectively lowers exporters' overall costs and increases the competitiveness of their products on a global scale. Given the prevailing conditions, the Indian government deemed it crucial to establish a structured framework for the regulations and provisions considering multimodal transportation. As a result, the Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act of 1993 was implemented, incorporating the widely accepted UNCTAD ICC regulations that have received substantial endorsement. The standardized terms and conditions that regulate the implementation of multimodal transportation are established by the Multimodal Transportation Act. Multimodal transportation is exclusively permissible for organizations that have obtained the appropriate registration from the pertinent authorities as specified by the Director General of Shipping in adherence to the stipulations of the Act. The registration requirement has been enforced by the government to ensure that only companies with the necessary financial resources, infrastructure and expertise are allowed to participate in the multimodal transportation. Students, now we will discuss the functional dimensions of the Act. The MMTG Act delineates three discrete classifications of organizations that satisfy the prerequisites for the multimodal transport operator, that is MTO registration. Companies can be classified into three distinct groups: freight forwarding companies, shipping companies and entities that do not fall into either of aforementioned categories. In order to meet the requirements for registration as a multimodal transport operator, that is MTO, freight forwarding companies and shipping companies that own and operate vessels must have a substantiated revenue of at least rupees 50 lakh over the preceding 3-year period. In order to qualify for the third category delineated earlier, a company must possess a subscribed share capital of at least rupees 50 lakhs. Additionally, the applicant organization must satisfy the subsequent requirements, that is, a certificate attesting to the employee's turnover, duly signed and issued by a chartered accountant in accordance with the Chartered Accountants Act of 1949. It is recommended that the organization establish offices, appoint representatives or utilize intermediaries in a minimum of 2 additional countries. The introduction of containerization has facilitated the adoption of multimodal transport of goods, in which a solitary transport document comprises all modes of transportation utilized to convey goods from the location of the exporter to the location of the consignee. There are numerous advantages to consolidating multiple modes of transportation into a single document, including the reduction of overall transportation costs and the minimization of delays, the facilitation of a more streamlined and rapid movement of products, and improvement of the service quality. A dearth of uniformity was observed in the execution of standardized procedures pertaining to the multimodal transportation of commodities in India. The government holds the opinion that the absence of regulatory in these operations give rise to uncertainty and misalignment of interests between the cargo proprietors and operators. In order to analyze the current state of affairs and suggest legislative measures that would unequivocally delineate the responsibilities and legal duties of multimodal transport operators in the event of loss or harm, a functional framework was established. The legislation concerning multimodal transport was implemented via the promulgation of an ordinance in October 1992. Following this, in 1993, the Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act was enacted to replace this legislation. Multimodal transport documents are legal documents that serve as a proof of contract for the transportation of products via multiple modes of transportation such as road, rail, air and sea. Maritime carriers have expanded their operations to inland regions due to the advent of containers, enabling smoother transitions between modes. Establishing a legal framework is crucial for promoting multimodal transport as it dictates contractual conditions, obligations and liabilities. The Combined Transport Document, that is CTD, was historically published, but operators often fail to consistently implement it. leading to inconsistencies in liability and other factors. The Foreign Exchange Dealers Association of India, that is FEDAI, made rules for the combined transport operators that work from inland container facilities in India. However, these rules were limited because the document did not give products ownership or negotiability rights, and the port insisted on paying for a standard onboard ocean bill of lading. The Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act of 1993 was issued in 1994 to ensure carriers are primarily committed to serving trade. Students, now we will discuss the ascertainment of liability under the Act. The issuance of multimodal transport document in accordance with the current legislation would serve as a legally binding agreement for the conveyance of goods through various modes of transportation. The document in question possesses negotiability unless the consignor exercise their discretion to designate it as a non-negotiable. The document of title, this is very important, the document of title that enables the possessor to receive the items specified therein. The individuals or entities with business interests who will be subject to the agreement upon its implementation include the multimodal transport operator, that is MTO, who assumes responsibility for executing the multimodal transport contract. The party responsible for delivering the products to the MTD for transportation, known as the consignor, and the party who is designated to receive the items at the intended designation, referred to as consignee. The individuals employed into the banking sector who would facilitate the process of documentary credit. Next are the insurers responsible for providing coverage against the loss or damage to the goods, as well as the liability insurers who would indemnify the MTO for any contractual liabilities. Students, as authorized by the principal, the multimodal transport operator, that is MTO, becomes the owner of the products upon the execution of multimodal transport document. By the virtue of this authorization, the MTO is bestowed with the power to pursue damages and execute any other requisite action on the owner's behalf. The regulations specified in the Multimodal Transport Act hold paramount importance over any other legislation, and any contract pertaining to multimodal transport that contravenes these principles and would be deemed void. The issuance of multimodal transport documents confers and obligates the aforementioned rights, responsibilities and defenses on all pertinent parties as stipulated in the legislation. In accordance with this particular act, the multimodal transport operator undertakes contractual responsibility and liability for any loss, damage or delay in the delivery of goods upon the issuance of the MTD. The document comprises a range of information including goods general attributes, the name and the principal location of MTD, the sender's name and the recipient's name as well. Also, it includes the date and location when MTD assumed liability for the goods, the designated delivery location, the precise date or time frame for the goods delivery at the designated location, and an indication of whether the document is negotiable or not. In addition, the customary terms and conditions regarding the MTO's liability for loss, damage, delay and other pertinent issues are also incorporated into the agreement. The paper has been formulated through careful examination of the pertinent information provided in documents that are globally recognized and recognized by the International Chamber of Commerce. Students, as per Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act of 1993, MTOs are now granted the authority to issue a standardized multimodal transport document which functions as a negotiable instrument. As a result, financial institutions will encounter no barriers to extending discounts for invoices accompanied by the said document. Students, the Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act 1993 outlines the standard conditions for the industry through 24 primary paragraphs supplemented by subparagraphs. The Act ensures that all the relevant parties from various countries have a comprehensive understanding of the intended meanings of the terms specified in the Act. The extent of applicability of the document must be restricted in accordance with the preamble of the Act. The contractual agreement for multimodal transport places significant importance on this aspect, and the document provides explicit details regarding the consequences. Section 8 of this particular Act has been adhered to by incorporating the provisions of negotiability and ownership of the products into the standard conditions. Students, condition 5 addresses concerns pertaining to inaccuracies, grounds for suspicion, or the absence of the viable verification methods. The evidentiary weight of the multimodal transport document is consistent with the stipulations delineated in section 11 of the pertinent statutes. Conditions number 10 and 11 and 12 spell out the rules for liability and the situations in which the MTO may be responsible for loss or damage. This is especially true when it is not clear what stage of transit the incident happened or when the problem has been solved. The customary conditions have encompassed the requirement for a postponement as stipulated in section 16 of the legislation. The legislative provisions concerning the obligations to notify in the event of loss, damage or delay are delineated in section 20. Students, condition number 17 provides additional clarification on these criteria. The multimodal transport document model, an official requirement of the Government of India, sets forth the groundwork for a carriage contract that is regulated by a consistent liability framework specifically designed for the conveyance of merchandise in global commerce. It possesses legal force and can be produced as a legally enforceable document. In conclusion, the multimodal transport document model is legally binding and negotiable document that sets forth the groundwork for a carriage contract regulated by consistent liability framework specifically designed for the conveyance of merchandise in global commerce. Now coming to the judicial overview. Students, in the case of Daewoo Heavy Industries Limited versus Clip River Shipping Company of 2003, the court declined to employ the fundamental breach doctrine while refraining from making a determination on its applicability to shipping cases. The court emphasized its obligation to interpret the contractual provisions. The court concluded that a carrier's liability remained subject to limitations in any circumstance. Hence, a comprehensive reassessment is necessary to determine the continued applicability of basic breach doctrine in contracts of carriage. The Canadian case of Wow M. Hartman SA versus Mackinnon Mackenzie and Company of 1989 had a legal dispute centered around the interpretation of a contract. The court determined that the carrier would not be liable to invoke the limitation of liability clause if it had significantly violated its obligations. The court in the case of Nelson Pine Industries versus Seatrans New Zealand Limited of 1995 adhered to this particular view. The Supreme Court of India rendered a decision in the case of Caravel Shipping Services Private Limited versus Premier Seafoods Exim Private Limited in 2018, overturning a judgment issued by the High Court of Kerala. in the current legal matter, the involved parties executed a contractual agreement on October 25, 2008, referred to as a multimodal transport document. This document outlined the roles of Premier Seafoods Exim Private Limited as the consignor and Caravel Shipping Services Private Limited as the agent responsible for facilitating the transportation of the aforementioned consignment provided by the respondent. The respondent initiated a legal action at the Sub-Judges Court, Kochi, seeking to obtain a monetary amount of rupees 26,53,593 rupees from the appellant. So, the person who was appealing filed an interlocutory application under section 8 of the relevant law, saying that the bill of lading included a provision for arbitration and that the disagreement should be settled through the arbitration itself. To support their case, the appellant's lawyer used the example set by MR Engineers and Contractors Private Limited versus Somdutt Builders Limited, a 2009 case by the Supreme Court, saying that the written condition about the arbitration clause in the bill of lading was an important part of the main agreement. Consequently, it was asserted that both the parties were legally obligated to adhere to these conditions. The bill of lading explicitly made reference to the arbitration clause that was attached to it. Now, given that both the parties were obligated under the primary contract, it follows that there would similarly be obligated under the attached arbitration clause. The respondent, in addition to asserting that the arbitration clause would not be included in the bill of lading, said that according to section 7 subclause 4 subclause A of the Act, an agreement must be documented and signed by all parties involved. Now, the absence of the respondent's signature on the bill of lading implied that the attached arbitration clause would not be legally binding on him. Moreover, an additional argument was put out asserting that due to the litigation having progressed beyond the stage of establishing key points and examining witness, it would not be appropriate to refer the matter to arbitration. According to the ruling of the Supreme Court, it was determined that the merchant, as defined in the bill of lading, encompasses individuals such as shippers, consignors or consignees. It was explicitly established that the merchant willingly consented to be legally obligated by all the provisions, stipulations, clauses and exemptions stated on the bill of lading, regardless of whether they were typed, printed or presented in any other form. Hence, notwithstanding the fact that the arbitration agreement was a written provision appended to the bill of lading, the respondent had obligated themselves to it by entering into the contractual agreement. The Supreme Court also made reference to its ruling in the matter of Jugal Kishore Ramdas versus Mrs. Golbai Harmusji, AIR 1955. In this case, the court established that while an arbitration agreement must be in written form, it is not necessary for the parties involved to sign the agreement. The court further determined that section 7 subclause 4 of the Act serves an additional conditions to subclause 3 of section 7 rather than mandating that an arbitration agreement must be signed in all instances. Students, Supreme Court considered that the sole need is that the arbitration agreement be documented in writing as stipulated in section 7 subclause 3 of the legislation. The Supreme Court in its esteemed judgment determined that the examination of witness would not impede the application of section 8 subclause 3 as the application was filed in the same year as the lawsuit. Therefore, the Supreme Court bench in the current case ruled that the inclusion of the arbitration clause in the bill of lading constituted an integral component of the primary contractual agreement, thus obligating both the parties to its terms. Students, it is sufficient for the arbitration clause to be in the written form without requiring the signature of both the parties involved in the contractual agreement. Furthermore, in Shipping Corporation of India versus Bharat Shah Movers Limited, a 2007 case, the Supreme Court interpreted the Indian Carriage of Goods by Sea Act and the Japanese Carriage of Goods by the Sea Act in the case involving the transportation of goods by sea. The Indian Act, which applies to all ports in India, is deemed applicable only when the transportation occurs from a port within India, while the Japanese Act applies to the cases where the transportation occurs between a loading port and a discharging port, with at least one of those ports located beyond the Japan's border. The High Court's interpretation of Section 2 of the Indian Act, which pertains to the transportation of goods by sea, was deemed incorrect. Now, coming to the conclusion. Presently, the business environment is undergoing an unprecedented rate of change. The increasing competition, both within the country and on an international level, requires the maintenance of high standards and financial success. In context of our dynamic modern society, where change is constant, it is critical to establish a straightforward and efficient door-to-door liability system for commerce in order to achieve harmonization. This factor primarily influenced the formulation of the new UNCTAD rules for the multimodal transport document. The potential replacement of Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act of 1993 with the National Logistics Efficiency and Advancement Predictability and Safety Act is now under consideration by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The objective of NLEAPS is to enhance the efficiency of the logistics ecosystem inside the country with the intention of fostering the development of the industry. The imperative to enhance and formalize logistics services while fostering digitization within the sector is crucial for facilitating the efficient transportation of the products. The objective is to decrease the current logistics cost, which accounts for 14% of the GDP, to a level below 10% of GDP. The proposed legislation aims to establish clear definition for the many stakeholders within the logistics industry and establish a regulatory framework that is characterized by the minimal intervention. The multimodal transportation and logistics glossary lacks a precise and unambiguous description of the logistics industry. This brings us to an end of today's lecture. Thank you very much for the patient listening. Thank you.